All right, then I think there's an issue with Yon's mic. I'll just kick off the session. Here we have Mike, who's the founder and CEO of Talus Network. He's our honorable guest for this developer session, developer office hours too. And Yon is our community manager, and myself, Gatin, a developer relationship specialist here at Zero G Labs. So I'll just give a brief intro about Mike. Mike has an extensive background in AI, blockchains, and information systems. At Talus, they are building an AI agent hub, which will enable anyone to seamlessly deploy an on-chain AI agent for consumer or blockchain applications. So happy to have you here, Mike. Would you like to just give a brief introduction about yourself? It would be great, like your background and like what is Talus and how it got started.
Yeah, thank you, Gavin. Appreciate it. Yeah, you pretty much said it all. We at Talos are building a AI smart agent hub, and what this is basically a platform that easily enables anybody to come and deploy smart agents. But why are smart agents important? I think the biggest thing is okay. AI is like super hyped. You have models, you have everything, but the main problem is these models can't really act by themselves. So by providing them acting capabilities and other tools, you could create these extensive like workflows that automate and make ourselves much more productive, whether it's by automating certain processes like trading or transacting or even just like entertaining ourselves or optimizing our calendars and so forth, or even like planning our vacations, right? Um, and our end goal is basically make it as easy as possible for anybody to deploy an on-chain agent. You might ask, okay, why an on-chain agent or why agents on blockchains? The biggest thing here is like blockchains have certain qualities in terms of like openness, permissionlessness, incentive mechanisms that are like suited perfectly for agents, whether Web2 is completely broken and built for humans.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mike. Like, I just have a follow-up question regarding that. Like, can you explain the role of like smart agents in the Talus ecosystem and how they interact with both on-chain and off-chain resources? Like, what is the workflow of the if someone comes and they wants to deploy in yours, or like if there is a deployed model which others can interact, what is the workflow that in Talus network?
That's a good question. The main thing is that like, or what I want to like emphasize is that like we don't want to have like AI is very heavy compute. We don't want to have every single model or every single inference happen within the network. So what we're doing, and you could think about Talos as a coordination or orchestration layer for all these AI resources like models, data, compute. But the actual resources are stored on chain, for example, in zero gravity. So, for example, if I have a model and I want to deploy it to the network, I commit the model to the ecosystem, but then it's actually stored on a like a decentralized storage layer like zero gravity, but then it's actually managed and operated through Talos. And then somebody like given that it's like governed as like a smart contract or like defined within the smart contract, the developer or the owner could define certain rules, and then other people could come and use that model and operate it, given the rules that the owner set. And then you could have this same thing happen for models, data, compute, and even tools that enable agents to act. And then developers could use all these as like building blocks to build the agents.
That's good. That's great, Mike. Like, we'll just follow it up? Like, how are you using zero G for your integration? Like, how detailed that you are using zero G? Like, your complete storage, have you already migrated it from move to zero G, or like, till we have the integrations going on? Like, what is the current status, and like, what is the future plans that you have with zero G?
So as I was saying before, like we're not going to be storing all the models. They're pretty heavy on the network. And imagine like if you want to run a full node, having to like download all these terabytes and terabytes of like LLMs to be able to like run or operate the network. So how we're partnering with Zero Gravity is enabling a super fast AI optimized storage layer for AI, which would enable them or enable us to host our models in decentralized storage layer and also like provide management of those models. In the near future, I think that's kind of like the easiest case. I'm a bit outdated in terms of like inference capabilities and other capabilities that you offer. But basically serving as like a super AI optimized data layer for storing models, data, or like other data sets that these agents will need access to within their workflows.
That's great, Mike. For the audience those who don't know what is the inference layer is, inference layer is the layer that we have that we are building above our storage layer, where we can deploy on AI agents and we can interact it having a front end above it. Like the front end will be available, and we have service providers or agent providers that will lie in the inference layer, which will interact with the data that is present below in the storage node. So that acts as a layer between the user and also the storage. So that's with that. And Mike, I have another question. Like, how does Talus ensure that AI models and data remain decentralized and verifiable? Like, what is the verifiable concept that you have, and like, what is the consensus behind it?
So I have a like interesting view about this. Like, not everything needs to be super verifiable or verifiable at all. I think like obviously there's different capabilities in terms of non-verifiability if I'm using the OpenAI API, and then there's like OPML, TEML, or CKML, and I think developers will be able or should be able to choose depending on the application that they're building. For example, if you're building a AMM that uses or like a DEX that uses AI, yeah, you're gonna need some type of like specialized model that should be CK provable because the stakes are super high. But if you're just building a chatbot or something that needs like super low latency and needs to be fast and cheap, I think OPML obviously or like TEML obviously suffices. But we're planning on offering all of those for developers.
Awesome, because I have experience in working with Aura protocol, ZKML transitioning to OPML. So I know how the speed difference and how the throughput changes while the interaction happens between the model.
Sorry, I'm not sure if I understood the question.
I just want to share that I have already worked with the Aura protocols, ZKML and OPML, so I could understand what you're trying to say. Yes.
Oh yeah, no, it's basically want to make it as easy and as flexible for developers to choose.
Awesome, awesome. So regarding the technological innovations, Thales utilizes the Move programming language and Move VM for its smart contracts. Like, what advantage do you see you for using Move, and what is the reason behind using Move?
Yeah, so the main benefits of Move are obviously like security, high throughput, and like high throughut parallel execution, and then developer paradigms. I think that there's gonna be a way, or there's gonna be a world where like all these AI resources are really, um, all these like AI resources are gonna be object centric, right? They're not gonna be as in Solidity, which they're like super brittle and they're like difficult to manage, extend, compose. And I think all these agents and building agent workflows and frameworks in Talos will be optimized and much will have like a much better developer experience if they're written in Move.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's with the technological innovation. And coming to the economic model, the TAI token is central to Talus's economic strategy. Like, can you discuss how the tokenomics are designed to incentivize participation and growth within the ecosystem?
Yeah, so we're like actively thinking about this and actually researching because we want to use a token as like a secure, obviously that's like to secure the network, but as well we plan on using to like incentivize agents, so or incentivize agent activity and development. So what we have in mind is basically like you would be able to deploy an agent, have a stake, but then as your agent acts and it performs productive work within a network, which we could be calling also like a productive work environment, like decentralized work environment. Your agent would also like get some type of like vote from the community and earn emissions from the network as well.
So it's like we can stake for a particular model. We can stake a few of our tokens in a model, and the more the number of users use the model, we can get incentivized out of it. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
All right, that's great. That's great. Like, how do you see the role of TAI evolving as the Talus network grows? Like, we see that this incentivization is good for getting started with it. Like, we can stake tokens, and like, what's your plan and like the further use cases with TAI token?
So mostly like agent incentivization, incentivization of like liquidity management within the network. I think agents are going to be using a lot of like liquidity to like transact. One of the biggest benefits of like blockchains, right?
Yes.
Then security, obviously like governance.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for that. And moving on, like, what is the future vision that you have? Like, what are the short-term and long-term goals for Talus? Like, hearty congratulations for raising sorry, I just got my mic on. Congratulations for raising $3 million led by Polychain and participation from Dove5, Hash3, Pi, and other top venture funds. Like, what is your current short-term goals and long-term goals, especially in terms of expanding its ecosystem and user base? Like, what is from the user side, what contribution are you expecting right now?
Yeah, so short term goals, we're in the process of like releasing our DevNet, which would be out in the next 2 3 weeks. So started to like onboard initial like agent projects and start building with them. I think that's gonna be the most important where we could prove our agentic framework and then obviously evolve it, add more features, add more capabilities as the AI space evolves. In the long term, we would definitely want to be the place where like all agents interact, transact, and are hosted within a decentralized environment. I think there's a huge potential, and everybody will have agents, but we need to make it as easy as possible for them to get built and actually work.
I totally agree because being in the infrastructure side, getting the storage node and also the faster throughput for enabling all the AI agents, I think Talus would play a great role in succeeding along with Zero G's. How we are improving all the storage infrastructure, making it more efficient for all the AI agents. Talus would be great forefront for us, getting all the agents onboarded and getting a lot of traction and users getting used using and shifting from Web2 agents to on-chain AI agents. So thank you so much for that. Like, do you have anything like in general to discuss, or like you have any points that you have regarding AI and on-chain AI, just to share with the audience, like how they can contribute, where you think with the next AI, on-chain AI will be in the next 5 years. So what are your thoughts on that?
And I think like AI agents will be the next billion blockchain users. Like they'll be transacting, they'll be interacting with one another, and they're like they're gonna be like representations of humans basically on chain. In my opinion, like the use cases are almost infinite. Like obviously you could bring blockchain incentives and mechanisms to current AI technologies, or do it the other way around. Like bringing AI to blockchain to make it easier to use and more fun and friendlier to use. I think within those areas we're going to see the majority of the use cases. But yet again, it's really early. Like people are just starting to realize this. Like now we're seeing more and more people talk about agents, and it's really exciting.
Sure, that's great to hear. Like, that's with the Talus Network. Like, coming to the most basic question after you just gave all the introduction, like what Talus Network does and like where you are focused to in the future. What inspired to get into the blockchain and AI space originality? Let's go with the foundation. Like, what got you into this?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. The main thing is that like I was realizing that like blockchains where or at least like blockchain applications or ecosystems were just like copy paste from one another. Like there wasn't really anything new happening, and I realized that like AI was kind of like the iteration of this to make newer applications, better applications, friendlier applications, and bring more excitement into the blockchain ecosystem to make it more widely adopted. Um, and for this, we need like a new stack. It's not the EVM. It's not any traditional like ecosystem that we've seen built. We need the best tools in the stack. We need the best developer ergonomics. We need the best performance. We need the best tools enshrined into the VM. And this is what kind of like made me realize, okay, if we want to build the next generation blockchain for AI, this is the way to go.
I totally agree with what you said. So that's with the foundation, like that got you into AI. That's really great to hear. So what next, Mike? Like we got into potential great partnership and you started integration. You have your DevNet coming up in 2 weeks. Well, do you have any projections of like when the mainnet will be and like when we can use the actual token for incentivization and people can stake it? Like, do you have any timeline in your mindset or a future roadmap after the DevNet?
Yeah. So after mainnet, yeah, like I think it's gonna be a lot of like, and we're gonna be releasing our mainnet in Q4 or Q1 of next year, and it's mainly gonna be around um incentivizing agent builders to come and deploy and building initial use cases. I think there's still like a large way to go in terms of, or a long way to go in terms of like agent development and how we build. So I'm excited to see what will be coming and how things will be developed.
All right, that's great. To for the audience who are interested in like contributing to Talus Network or all the people who are working in Zero G wants to integrate or like get started with contribution, like is there any career opportunities that are open right now or you have any open source contribution planning? Like what is the plan where we our audience could help in the development of Talus Network?
No, yeah, this is great. Right now, I think like the biggest thing is obviously like join our community. We have some exciting initiatives like rolling out. We already released our community platform, which is like native to Talus, to start just like doing some simple tasks, and but it's like shared with only like specific roles. But we'll be rolling that out in the next coming weeks. So I could post a link if you guys wanna join the community, and then as we roll it out, we'll make it accessible to you guys. I think like within the next week or so, it should be available for everybody. And then yeah, in terms of once we release the DevNet, like trying things out, building some basic agents, and enabling you to do so, I think would be the best. Trying it out, just giving some feedback for us to like make it better.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that too. Uh,
Let me see if I could post a link to the
yep,
Discord
sure.
server. I don't know if it's gonna let me. No, I can't send the link.
You can just send
Mm.
me later. I'll just share it along with the post later after this session.
Okay, I'll send it to you, Gavin.
All right. Thank you so much for everything. Like, pretty much we are done with it. Like the whole flow, we are good with it. If audience have any questions, like feel free to post it on the chat box. We are just open to have questions. We have Mike here. I could represent Zero G's thing. Jan is there to support with the community questions. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat box. Mike, in the meantime, if you want to meet you in person, which event is the next thing that is there in your schedule where we can meet you in person?
I'll be at SBC in New York next week. We could chat there. If not, in Token 2049 in September.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. We just got a question from the community like how do you see the further development of AI in web3, like after this having AI models making it more usable, having giving the incentivization power to it, we'll be able to stake tokens on it, having it more higher throughput, enabling it in day-to-day life, like how for example how chat gpt works for now, making it that easier and simpler for consumers to be onboarded. What else do you have in your mind, Mike, regarding AI and web3?
I think like ownership and monetization are going to be very important. Like for example, if you have a model that I could monetize, or I have a model that you could monetize, and we could like trade models and access models, or use different people's like AI resources for building workflows. I think it's going to be very interesting because it ends up like remaining like a plug and play format for like leveraging AI resources. And I think that's going to like enable a lot of like innovation. The other thing is obviously like the incentives, which are still in the works. I think making sure that like AI is correctly incentivized to be well developed and not centralized, or at least like incentivize the right people to use AI. I think it's going to be solid, and in terms like whether it's like staking and for security or just like for earning rewards. I think there's a lot of like design. There's a large design space for getting all these things developed.
Yes, I agree with that. Definitely, Mike. Do we have any other questions from the community today? Like, audience, feel free to ask the questions in the chat box. Awesome. I think we are good with that. After post this meeting, I'll be sharing all your social links regarding Talus Network in our channel, and hopefully we will be able to. Hopefully you all will be able to contribute and like support the community in Talus Network too. So, Mike, thank you so much for being here today. Do you have any last words to share with the community?
No, just join our Discord. We'll have the community platform and rewards for you guys real soon. We have like some interesting events like poker and AMAs and everything to learn about agents every week. Our social media manager John is really good and he's pretty knowledgeable about AI as well. So if anybody would want to come and discuss, more than welcome. And just ping me if you guys have any other questions. Happy to answer them as well.
Definitely. If you just get 10 minutes, if you have just 10 minutes, just go to the chat box. You have the Discord link there for Talus Network. Just join now if you could. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much so much, Mike, for making it today, and thank you, Jan, for hosting the session, and thank you one and all for joining us today. And hopefully, we will be having the next developer office us next week, and you will soon hear about who will be the next partner we will have the discussion with. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys. And bye.
Thank you.